All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Golden Disc Collection, Autobot Jackpot, and Autobot Sights. And yeah, this is a pretty cool figure. If you're unfamiliar, the Golden Disc Collection is a set of four, well, I guess technically five figures that are all Amazon exclusives. And yeah, the general theme is supposed to be like characters from different worlds that are like pulled through the multiverse and something like that. It's mostly just an excuse to give us some, different, slightly more obscure repaints of Generations figures and stuff like that. And a Jackpot here. The original Jackpot was a action master, so a non-transforming transformer. So he didn't really have an alt mode, but the little sculpting on the figure did kind of make it look like he had a hood chest like Jazz does in his robot mode, implying that his alt mode would have been a car, right? So they've decided to use the Studio Series 86 Jazz mold to give us a new iteration of Jackpot. And that's a pretty cool idea. I think it works really well. He does come with sights. Now, the original sights wasn't a pterodactyl; he was a bird. But it still mostly gets the point across here. They're just reusing the Taraxodon mold, the little Battle Master mold from Siege. I think that was Siege, right? Yeah, because they stopped doing Battle Masters and Earthrise, I think. It's hard to keep those keep those straight, but yeah, it works pretty well. It doesn't really have any paint or anything. It's just blue and black, which I guess, to be fair, is pretty accurate to the original to the original sites. Maybe it would have been cool if they had at least picked out the eyes in yellow, since they do have yellow paint elsewhere on the figure. But whatever. Still, nice little addition here. And then he also comes with the same gun that Studio Series Jazz came with, just in black and then painted blue. So that looks pretty nice. And the same little blast effect that the original Taraxodon came with. So just included that here. And yeah, it's a pretty good set. I don't usually look at like packaging and stuff for figures, but the Golden Disc collection has this neat thing going on with the four different sets where they're going to be making like the different corners of the golden disc from Beast Wars. So I don't know. Figured I'd show that as since I do have all four sets on order on pre-order. It would be cool to show those off together just so you can see what that display option is like. But yeah, it's a pretty nice little car mode. It's simple. It's obviously like it doesn't have a lot of the striping detail that Jazz had, but where it lacks that, it's got these nice like yellow rims and kind of yellow side section here. And I think it's a pretty cool looking car. I do like the orange windshield with the black and yellow. I do think it looks pretty nice, and the front grille there with the headlights picked out looks pretty good too. Like I said, Taraxodon doesn't really have any paint on him. In terms of storage, I mean, it doesn't really need storage for Taraxodon because you could just like fly alongside the car, but you can peg him onto the top here, and that looks, all right. You can kind of like, I guess, role play that that's him flying really close to the car. Unfortunately, you can't store both not Taraxodon sights. They're using the Taraxodon mold, but you can't store both sights and the gun on there at the same time. And again, it's that same storage where it's just like, here's your weapon storage. Just plug this gun on top of a car and remove any disguise that it had. I really wish that it could have gone somewhere in it, like underneath or whatever, but whatever. I'm pretty content to put this gun in the box anyway, just because I prefer him just having sights as the weapon, and sights doesn't really need to be stored anywhere because, like I said, you can just fly alongside him. But yeah, just to take a real quick look at sights here for transformation. I mean, you can have him like standing up like this, like that, or you can have them flying along either with or without the little feet folded up. I kind of like the look. It looks a little bit more aerodynamic when the feet are folded up and he's flying, but whatever works. Transformation, it's the same, of course, as Taraxodon. You just take this little handle, flip it out, flip the head inside, and then fold down the little wing sections, and he makes a little axe. And yeah, that's pretty cool. Here he is with the original Taraxodon mold, just so you can see what they look like together. Again, he's got a bit more paint. He's got like the metallic blue and the red and stuff picked out. I don't mind that he doesn't have like the extra painted detail on the wings or whatever. It would have been nice to see some paint on the head, but still works. And again, like the original Sights wasn't really painted a whole lot either, so I guess it's kind of accurate. But here Jackpot is with Jazz, the original use of the mold. I've got lots of stickers on Jazz, so this is not his original color scheme necessarily, but they look pretty good together. And for a standard size comparison, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe. So, pretty standard size car there, deluxe car. And yeah, for a transformation for him, it's just like Jazz, of course. First thing you want to do is take these little door sections, just untab them from the arms and fold them up like that. Then you can take the whole section with the arms here and rotate it around sort of like at this wheel section. Then you want to, again, like this whole roof section is clear plastic, so it can be a little bit scary, like pegging this in and unpegging it, but as long as you're careful with it, it should be okay. You just kind of want to wiggle this out just to untab this section from the top there, and then again, untab it from the back here, which can be a little bit of a pain, but there we go. Untab it like that, and just move this up out of the way for now. Then for the legs here, we can untab them, unfold them at the knees, and then take this little tab right there, which will go into a little slot on this black piece. Flip down the toes, or up the toes rather, and then take these whole wheel well sections and just rotate them forward. Then you want to take this little red section, which kind of makes up his little midriff, and rotate that around the yellow section so it's facing forward like that. Then with this section here, you want to take this little panel and push it in and just push it all the way up to the top here so that you have clearance to take the head and rotate that panel up like that. Oops, starting to come undone there. His head is a little bit bigger than Jazz's, at least wider, so sometimes it gets a little bit more caught, but you want to rotate it up past that panel like that, and then you want to bring this panel a little bit in so that when you rotate this down, these two slots on this panel here will go onto these little tabs on the red piece. Just make sure that that tab's in place, just like that. And you can rotate down his arms, flip out his hands, and rotate them forward. Come on. Oh, that's why I was thinking it was rotated the other way, so I was like just gnawing at the peg there. And then with this section here, you want to, it's a little tricky because you kind of have to do this a little bit simultaneously. You want to bring these panels in enough that they kind of clear this back panel, and then you can hinge that in, double hinge it, just like that. And then you can bring these panels the rest of the way just to sit a little bit flush like that, and then rotate this whole section up so the pointy bits of the doors here kind of sit like inside this hinge, just like that, to make a neater backpack. And there you have Jackpot in his robot mode. And yeah, he's still mostly the same figure as Jazz, obviously, being the same mold. He does have a new head sculpt. Now, yeah, we saw images of this when people started getting this guy, and it seems to be a running problem where the head pieces are kind of misaligned, and the right half sticks just like a little bit further up than the left half, and it doesn't look great. It's a nice designed head sculpt, but it does kind of suck that it's got that like misalignment there, because like if you look at the picture on the back of the box, you can see his head sculpt is much smoother in the CAD model, and that's how it was intended to be. So yeah, that kind of sucks. It's not like the end of the world, and again, that does seem to be a running problem, but I'll live, but that does kind of suck. But yeah, in terms of articulation, he's of course the exact same as Jazz. His head is on a ball joint, and his head's got a pretty good range, actually, just because of the shape of it. The shoulders can rotate around like that, rotate out to the side. He's got a bicep swivel, 90 at the elbow. The wrists can only bend in. He's got a waist swivel, which can kind of bump into the backpack, but it's pretty easy to just hinge it out of the way. His hips can go forward and back, out to the side. He's got a thigh swivel, which is still pretty tight. Yeah, it's same thing with Jazz, is like the knees don't always stay tabbed in all the way and like to come undone. I've seen, copies that are worse than this. Like it stays up fairly well. It just kind of undoes itself sometimes, but it's not too hard to get it go back in place. But the knee itself goes, maybe a degree or two under 90. If you want to unpeg that, then it can go further. It just looks a little weird, but that really is supposed to stay tabbed in. And then the ankles can tilt, which is nice. So yeah, pretty decent articulation. Again, the knees can be a little bit annoying, but it's not too bad if you're willing to fiddle with it for a little while. Let me just adjust the camera a bit more here. Obviously, you can give him his little weapon here, and you could, if you wanted to, use the blast effect that he comes with. It's sort of this is one of the ones that's really meant for like the melee weapon, so it looks a little bit strange as a like muzzle flash, I guess, muzzle flare, whatever those are called. But you could do that, or obviously use any other blast effects. You can store it on his back if you want, though again, it doesn't have that storage in vehicle mode. So for me, I just keep that weapon in the box and then just give him sights as the weapon. Now, you can obviously, do the axe mode that was intended for Taraxodon. The original sights didn't really have a melee weapon mode. He really more had like a gun mode. And the original Taraxodon mode, though, like the main weapon is this axe, you can like still put it like this so that the he can hold on to this handle and use it as a gun. And it looks a little silly, but also, to be fair, it doesn't look that much sillier than the original sights weapon mode. So I like that. I like that you've got that option there. Obviously, you could still use this blast effect on the weapon like this, since there's that little peg at the end of the barrel there, and do that. Or you can use the blast effect a little bit more how it's intended and use these tabs here that go into these little slots in here, just like the original Taraxodon. Come on. And do an axe, like he's kind of, you'd have to do a better action pose than than just that. But still, it's a bit of functionality, and that looks pretty good, I think. I generally prefer the look of the axe mode, but it's nice that he still does have that gun mode to be more like the original sights. But either way, here he is with Jazz again, his mold mate. And here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, just for that standard size comparison. And then just for a bit of fun, here he is with Titan's Return Croc and Kingdom Mainframe, just for some other updated versions of G1 Action Master characters. Obviously, Mainframe is not really in his correct colors, but it's still cool to show them off together like that. But overall, it's a pretty good figure. I'd say, like, if you like the Jazz mold, you'll like him probably. Like, the only real issue that I have with him is just that misaligned piece on the head there. The joints feel just about as good as Jazz. I like that, there was an appropriate battle master to give him to like really replicate the original like pairing with him and Sights. Like, I think that's really cool and it works really well. And there's not really a lot else to say about him. I'm enjoying him so far, so hopefully I'll like the other Golden Disc Collection characters that are coming in. They're starting to come in a bit early, because originally they were planned for March. So I already have a shipping notice for Road Ranger and Puffer, so I should be able to look at those in a little while. But hopefully we'll get the other ones soon too, because like frankly the Beast Wars characters were the ones I were more excited about after ordering them. Like Jackpot's fun, and the GoBots and like weird European repaints of Huffer and Pipes are cool too, but like I'm just really looking forward to Pterosaur, which is probably going to be the last one, unfortunately, that comes in. But, it's still cool to get part of these and build the box diorama. That'll make a cool display. But either way, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Golden Disc Collection, Jackpot, and Sights.